Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond Events with Dawat USA. I'm your host Manahyl Khan and I'm thrilled to have you all join us for yet another exciting episode. Today our spotlight is going to be on a remarkable entrepreneur and the creative force behind Mia and Mila Luxury. Joining us today is the versatile and the supremely talented influencer, model and the creative director of Mia and Mila Luxury, Manahyl. Hi Manahyl, welcome to the show. How are you?
Anur, thank you. Thank you for coming by.
I'm super glad to have you on the show and can't wait to delve deep into the interesting conversation that we're going to be having today. Ladies and gentlemen, Mia and Mila Luxury is a brand that epitomizes elegance and style, and therefore the theme for today's podcast is Elegance Redefined with Manahyl. Are you excited, Manahyl, for our conversation?
Yeah, I can't wait. What do you got for me? Bring it.
Yep, so let's start. So Manahyl, my first question to you would be that before we delve into the world of Mia and Mila Luxury, the name particularly intrigued me a lot. So could you run us through the journey of how Mia and Mila came to being?
Mia and Mila was a very instantaneous kind of idea, and it came about because I was watching my daughter, who is Mila. She was playing with my niece, who is Mia, and they're both the same age. They were born around just a couple of months apart, and Mia and Mila's journey started with kids' clothes. And so when I would see them together, I kind of kept them in mind when I started making my first ever collection. And it just made sense to kind of name it after the two of them. There's also this sense of security. You kind of feel less vulnerable when it's not your own name out there. I know there are a lot of designers who obviously go by their name, and there is strength in that. But I kind of needed something that I would feel some sort of love towards, and chose to name my brand that way.
No, that's actually amazing, and I feel correct. It's Mia and Mila, which is the name of the brand. So perfect, we'll be following by that, and that's really interesting. That's such a heartwarming story to share, perhaps. So again, Manahyl, you're from the world of fashion and elegance, glamour, all of that. So how has the journey unfolded for you as well as for the brand, and what inspired you to perhaps enter into this industry?
Look, I was always into fashion. I think always, from as far back as I can remember, I think fashion has been something it's like I live, breathe, eat. Everything is fashion for me. So I knew always that I was going to go in this line of work at some point down the line. And I started in this industry as a stylist because, again, I wasn't as comfortable to be in front of the camera. Yeah. I was a child actor, and you would think that I was meant to be ready for that, but I had such a long gap. But I knew this industry is where I'm gonna go. I mean, it's all I've known, it's all I've seen since I was a kid. So it started off as a stylist, got into the world of fashion, and unfortunately, it's not as easy being a stylist in our country. There's a lot of gray areas that stylists have to work with, a lot of challenges to work. And I kind of organically had found myself to where I am. And whether that was styling for brands, whether then that became selling a lot of brands at my multi-brand pop-ups, which I started doing to kind of bring the city together 3 times a year. And then whether it went to dressing my friends who were in the movies and who were going to all these red carpets, or they'd ring me and they place that trust in me. So I knew that people do place trust in me when it comes to what they wear and how they wear it, and whether that's looking at my Instagram sometimes, or whether getting exactly what I'm wearing. So I realized that it's time for me to start creating my own. That journey had I've done the work. Now I just gotta take the leap, which was kind of the hardest bit, I think.
I feel like that's such an interesting story to share, and I have so many questions. But Manahyl, you said, as someone who is perhaps shying away from the camera a lot of times, I feel like right now at this particular point in life, you wear many hats. You're an influencer, a model that requires you to be in front of the camera all the time. So how has that journey unfolded for you?
It's unfolded. I'm so much. I mean, now I'm good with the 1 and 2, and I'm good there now. It takes a little bit of practice, and I was a little rusty at that point. But really, it's just about putting yourself out there. And now, yes, you have to wear many hats. But I really can't imagine that my life would have turned out any other way. I'm not sure if that really works with your question.
So Manahyl, diving into the world of fashion and luxury, I'm sure it must be an incredible journey for you. So just wanted to ask, like, what inspired you to enter into this industry, and how has the journey unfolded for you as well as for your brand?
This world of fashion, like I said, I'm not sure about luxury, but fashion definitely was. It's something. It's in my blood. It's what I live for. It's what I eat, breathe, think about, and so that was definitely going to be a part of that. And how that's unfolded for me, it's unfolding. It's just a continuous process. This whole thing, and I am just the type of person who doesn't believe that my point of learning is complete, or like it's unfolded. I mean, it's yet to go places. It's only year 2, It's not such an old brand. So I feel like the journey is unfolding, and we'll see what that was like at the end of it all. But, miles to go.
Yeah, for sure. We're excited to see what's next for Mia and Mila as well, just generally. So now, each fashion brand has its own personal aesthetic. So what's the underlying vision and inspiration behind the aesthetic of Mia and Mila?
I think the simplest way to put it, and how I put it to myself initially was, we've come from a very rich subcontinental history. There were a lot of Nawabs and Maharajas, and we have our subcontinental history and our fashion was so rich. Our gems, our colors, our tapestries, our fabrics. I mean, that's where my inspiration really comes from. And I think the brand and the whole aesthetic of the brand is to kind of imagine, what if we still had those princely states in effect, right? Like, how would those people dress today? So it would be like a good mix of traditional but modern aesthetic. Those people used to, move with the times. There would be, the royal families used to be shopping in the likes of Paris and, all around, while also adorning local fashions. So I just imagine that, what would the royals of those times wear today? And that's where I see Mia and Mila's aesthetic that's aligned.
I think that makes so much sense. And, Manahyl, my question here would be that, do you feel like fashion comes back? As an observer in the industry, I've just been seeing that fashion comes back after every, 20 years, 30 years. Like currently, in the era that we are, I feel like, 90s fashion is sort of coming back. And, it's and I feel like fashion generally is ever evolving. It comes back in a different way. But do you feel, does it come back?
Oh, absolutely. It's a cycle. It comes back. And I tell you, I never said no to anything my nanny was giving away. Oh. And it's always come in handy. So even when the cat eye glasses went in, and I was maybe 8, 10, and she was like, I'm parting with these. Anybody want? And I was like, me. Anything that she had, I was like, me. And it all comes back. And I think some of my most favorite pieces, even with jewelry, are things that she's passed down to me, and she's given to me. And they're probably 40, 60 years old when they were made.
So, Manahyl, could you tell us something about, your nanny's pieces that I'm particularly very interested to know, other than the heartwarming memories and stuff that those bring, could you tell us about your 3 perhaps most favorite pieces from your nanny's wardrobe?
She gave me this stunning neck. Her father was actually a goldsmith, so he would make the jewelry for his wife, and he would make it for my nanny, and she was his only daughter. So I mean, he really was, kind of treated her very special. So she's got this beautiful necklace, and it's kind of layered, and it's got scallops underneath. I haven't seen that kind of workmanship ever. I have it in one of my photographs, and I went extra. I double paired it, but it's just an iconic piece of jewelry, and that's one of my favorite pieces. Another thing she gave me was a whole box of, believe it or not, lace. We have Kamali lace, right? But that's all real gold lace, and it's got and it's still pristine. I took it to a couple of designers when I wasn't designing, and I, still would have to rely on all my friends to make my clothes. I took them to a couple of people, and, a lot of them said, it's so precious that we shouldn't even snip it in half. Either we should use it fully on some kind of a dupatta that we would be able to then take off later. Yeah. But if we cut it, it's kind of destroying a piece of history almost. So that was one of my other second favorite things. And the third is also another piece of jewelry, and it's a very tiny little pendant. But in fact, one of them I'm wearing now. Okay. So
that's so interesting,
yeah,
actually.
No, I have a little heart that she's given me.
Yeah,
sweet, right?
It's so cute.
Yeah, and this is really old too.
Yeah.
I think maybe damaged it, but okay. So I keep this necklace, this tiny heart on me at all times. But yeah, it's really old, and you know, it's so cute. Hearts are back in fashion, aren't they?
Sure. I think they never went out of fashion.
Yeah, that's true. Facts.
Hearts like never go out of fashion.
That's
They're
true.
always like the talk of the town, just generally all kinds of like hearts that we're like perhaps talking about. So,
Yeah.
you know, Manahyl, especially for your brand, like I've seen that your brand has grown tremendously online. So, you know, how have you navigated the online presence of your brand, and like, you know, were there any specific considerations that you made when considering like an online platform for Mia and Mila?
I'm very particular about my aesthetic. I don't know if that's come across yet. So I worked on the website myself. And now, by the way, it's not that difficult. Anybody wanting to set up a business, it's pretty easy. You have Magento. I haven't used it, but I think it's Magento. You have Shopify. It's not that difficult. I was definitely very particular on how the website was going to be made. But I was very conscious of the fact that it was going to be online based primarily from the get-go. It wasn't it wasn't a chance that I started it online. It was definitely a well-intended process for simple and economical reasons. Less overheads. I didn't want to build into a space without knowing I have the clientele for it, right?
Yeah.
Once I had my clientele, then I built a little private studio that, you know, we're kind of sitting in right now. We took in more production offices, but it had to be online first because I had to be very careful. I mean, this is a self-raised, self-funded, self-made, in as far as we can go to say self-made. I recognize my privilege, but you know, it's fully self. So I had to be very conscious of where my money is going to go, because I did not want to go to my family or my husband and say, hey, you know, I really need you to bail me out, because that takes away the purpose of this business. It has to be mine.
For sure. And, you know, Manahyl, you began your answer by saying perhaps that, you know, it's very easy to sort of like, you know, put yourself up there online. But, you know, not everyone makes it big, but Mia and Mila has. So why do you think it was that your business, like perhaps like, you know, Mia and Mila struck out like to the consumers in general? And what do you think are the USPs perhaps of your business that set you apart from all the other online businesses out there?
I really, really have to credit God for it. I really do. And I know it's pretty cliche, but I really am a very strong faith in that. I do think that it has been God's help that has taken me this far. That's not to say that I haven't put the work in and the consistency hasn't gone in. It has to be a good balance between how much you're putting into your business and what you expect out of it. A lot of times I see that people are running business, you know, nahi chal raha or something. But I always say, like, how much have you put into it? Like, in terms of time, and how much energy have you put in? Not just money. And sometimes in our society, people find it easier to set up a business money-wise, but not be able to carry it forward because the work wasn't done. Or they'll be like, okay, you know what, I'm going off for holiday now, so for 2 months my business is going to be shut. That's not how you do business. But I think that if you stay committed and you stay cliche again, but you really have to stay true to your aesthetic, and you will find your place in the market, because you've got to churn out you can't be churning out things that everybody's doing. Hafte ki 5 collections nikal rahi hain. I personally can't tell a lot of the designers apart from the other. There are very few distinct names in our industry whose outfits you can look at and say, okay, I know who that is by, right? Oftentimes one will be making something and then sab shuru. If one campaign is showing girls drinking tea out of a cup, all campaigns are going to be showing girls drinking tea out of a cup. If it's like shadi scene, then everybody's going to do shadi scene. Beach mein everybody was doing families. You know, so it's like the same. Then it's not fun, because as a designer, so I started later, but I was buying clothes for as long as I can remember. And so I like to keep that in mind. Would I be interested? What do I want to look at, right? I mean, if it's the same, I get that sometimes it becomes a trend and you want to be on trends, but you have to stay very true to your own brand voice, your own aesthetic, your own work. And sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't, but it's always worth the try.
For sure. I feel like we've genuinely like seen a lot of brands get distracted and lose their personal vision just because they want to stay in trend, just because they want to stay the talk of the town, and eventually like it just becomes like a monotonous, like, you know, like everything's like homogenous and they're not able to stand out that way. So I feel like, you know, like sitting in the studio even, like it feels so like, I feel like I'm surrounded with like it's exquisite designs, exquisite visions. So, Manahyl, could you give us like a rundown of some of your most celebrated like pieces? Some of the most popular like pieces that you have ever created that were popular amongst your clients and your favorites as well.
Okay, so the most popular ones happen to be my favorites. We started out with, like I said, we started out with kids wear, and the very first collection was the Return of the Maharani, and it had a lehenga of ours. It's called the Sophia lehenga, and because the designs are, I would like to say, timeless. I do feel that they are timeless. I mean, it's not something that's something that you can't pick out 4 or 5 years later. And the fact that people are still ordering from my first collection for this current wedding season, it's kind of a testament to say that it really doesn't matter that that design was created 2 years ago. It is still one of my most popular designs because it's still uniquely unique. You're still not finding something that's like that in the market. That's not to say copies haven't been made, but so it doesn't matter when something's been designed, as long as the design is something that will take you through, it works, right? So that's one of our most iconic pieces. And then for the women, we started off with the sari. Yeah. And the Orion sari is still one of our most coveted, sought after designs of saris. We make them all the time, but we make very few. Yeah. So if you like a sari, then you just get it then, and it kind of gives you something unique instead of maybe tens of your friends having it. It's kind of nice to feel like there's something that maybe you and 3 others have, and that's, for me, I like to wear something that's kind of unique.
I feel like saris also happen to be some of the most timeless pieces.
Absolutely.
And I feel like these days with Gen Z, there's been trends that have been going viral on, TikTok and different applications where people are telling you how to style a sari in 5 different ways, 6 different ways. I feel like you as an influencer and a model could perhaps relate to that. So could you tell us about how you sort of think about, or what's your vision behind styling one outfit in 5 different ways, perhaps?
See, this is new thing, by the way. Now this. They'll give you a kameez and they'll say, style it 5 different ways. There's not much you can do. I mean, I one time got so desperate, I actually stuck it in my jeans and I'm like, it's a shirt now. But it's not really a practical way of styling it. Yeah. I don't think that something should be styled 5 different ways, perhaps. But I do feel that with the sari, it is right. You can style it so many different ways. I kind of take the feel of the sari and I always wear my pallu differently every time, somehow or the other. And it's just about how you're feeling in the sari. You can wrap it around your neck the other way. You can wear it ulta. You can, there's a lot of ways to wear your sari. And you should experiment with how to wear a sari. It's fun.
For sure. So, you just mentioned that, one of your creations called Return of the Maharani. So, could you tell us about what's your thought process, what goes in your mind when you were finalizing a name for a particular creation of yours?
So, this was the first collection, the Return of the Maharani, and I was shooting the first campaign for Mia and Mila. And the Return of the Maharani, because we were, again, like the royal families coming. So it was the Return of the Maharani, basically. And the campaign, each of the campaigns that I work on are dedicated to people from the subcontinental history. So when I was researching for what and who I would base my campaign on, I decided to do it on the last Maharaja of Lahore, Ranjit Singh, and his daughters who lived in Lahore. And one of them is actually buried in Lahore, which a lot of people don't know, in Model Town. And so we kind of went to some of the places that Ranjit Singh and his daughters were associated with. We shot the campaign there to remain organic to the vision and the thing. And each of the outfits, like Sophia, is after Maharani Catherine Sophia. So we take the names also from notable people in history and from our subcontinental history, at least.
That's so interesting because, our subcontinent is generally very rich in diversity and, the tapestries, all of those things. I feel like your brand's kind of like an amalgamation of
all the things I love to do. Yeah. All the things I love to do because listen to me.
That's what your personal vision
I cannot tell you how many buildings I have almost dressed past and successfully done, historical buildings. I have a thing for that. So with this, I get to bring my love for fashion and my love for architecture, subcontinental history, and then folk music. And then I get to put it together and I get to create fashions with it. So honestly, for me, it's it's the best part of the job.
For sure. I feel like I'm loving this conversation so far. And, just generally, Manahyl, I'm sure running your own fashion brand also comes, like with the exquisite designs, it also comes with like a lot of memorable moments. So could you perhaps share like one or two heartwarming stories you've perhaps like had with your clients or anywhere like in your business that you've experienced? Like?
I think the most heartwarming the moment for me, one at the top, would have to be when I signed my first lease as for Mia Mila's first production office. That for me, I know is not very heartwarming, but I saved it. I saved the very first thumbprint I had to put on that form. My staff was kind enough to kind of have it framed for me because they couldn't understand why I was like getting so excited. But it felt like, okay, I'm doing this and I'm doing it on my own. So I think that would have to be my favorite moments, or the times when my staff, kind of comes together to celebrate each other's birthdays. We're very serious about that at the office. So we celebrate everybody's birthdays. We cut cakes, no doubt. So I think that's another part of it that brings me.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has different moments they can like perhaps share. So I feel like these are probably like your most cherished ones. I feel like being surrounded by a team that feels like family is also what keeps you going on days that you are not perhaps that motivated. So I feel like it's that team that gives you the rigor and determination to perhaps go forward. I'm sure you can like relate to that.
So, as long as you're not calling them family and giving them like a toxic work environment, because I do feel like sometimes it's misused, like, oh, we're family. But it's like there's this pressure only from one side to be family and not the other. So I do think, yes, you should be family, but also recognize that there are people who are working for you, with you, for your stuff, and also treat them accordingly. And we tend to take family for granted, so.
You're so right about that one. I feel like that's definitely true, especially in our like I feel like culture and just generally like in Pakistani society, we really do for sure.
Yeah.
So Manahyl, fashion events often intersect in terms of weddings or, formal gatherings. So just wanted to ask, like, have you collaborated or has your brand collaborated with any event planners or just generally in creation of outfits for a particular, formal event or gathering as such?
That's quite an interesting concept, no? How to partner with perhaps an event planner No, I haven't in the past, but yes, I have dressed a lot of people for red carpet stuff. Recently LSA, and one of our clients is wearing it to a film premiere of hers in Jeddah, a sari of ours this week. So yeah, we work with a lot of people to dress them for important events, but it would be so nice if event planners who also had our own roster and like we're going to clients and being like, that's actually a great idea.
I feel like my questions basically coming from the fact that different stakeholders, perhaps stylists, event planners, fashion designers need to work together collaboratively to ensure and bring out that seamless event experience for the client.
That's actually quite a gap you've identified, because how nice would it be if you went to one place and they said, okay, well, here's how we'll do. But clothing is so personal that I feel like sometimes perhaps, well, so is decor then, that if you can trust somebody with your decor, then you can. But it would be nice if you kind of did that and everything was taken care of,
like bringing everything together.
Like your outfits kind of you come they complement your theme basically. True. Right? So like everything is done with your outfit. How interesting. That like part of what goes on your lehenga goes on their tables. Oh, I get it.
I feel like we're talking about this and you're like, oh, we've
I get excited.
Yeah, I'm like in the market. Yeah. I feel like stuff. Like maybe
tomorrow morning you'll wake up. You'll be like, Manahyl has started on you. No, I'm kidding. But it's true. No, it's quite interesting.
For sure. So, Manahyl, you spoke about LSA. So, you also carried your own creation at LSA, like you were wearing your personal.
No, that was not my own. That was not my own. I was wearing Alice and Olivia. Okay. I would have loved to wear my own, but I wasn't sure if I was going to be in town.
No, but just generally as well, my question was that you've generally probably wore your own creations at very notable events, right? So, how is that experience for you in terms of, making sure your personal vision sort of like elevated and channeled into the outfits and stuff that you're wearing, perhaps?
Interestingly enough, the first time I wore my own creation was because my sister came into town and she said, what are you doing hoarding these? I was making them and I was putting them in my closet, which is, I don't know why. And as somebody who gets paid to wear clothes from other designers. And she was just baffled. She said, "Who does that? Are you crazy?" And she was visiting after many, many years anyway.
Right.
So she kind of pushed me to wear my first sari. And I went out in my first sari and I felt so comfortable and felt like this feels so right. And we were about to enter and we were going through the parking lot into the wedding. And this girl ran behind me and my sister. My sister was also wearing one of my saris. Yeah. And she said, "Where are your saris from?" And that was a moment for me. I was like, okay. And believe me, that particular night, I had people coming up to, even my husband was kind of sick of it by the end. He said, "What is happening tonight?" This one gentleman came to my sister and said, "Where's your sari from? Because my wife is like talking about it for like half an hour now. I'm sick of it. Like, where is it from?" You know? And that's when I realized that I was just too afraid and I needed to take that step. And that language that you need when you wear an outfit, it just comes naturally. True. And if you're not experiencing that language in an outfit, then don't wear it. It's okay if it's not yours. But when you wear clothes should not be wearing you, right? So true. You shouldn't be looking lost in them. You should feel like when you walk out, you should feel like $1,000,000. And that's what you're paying for, really, so that you feel good. And clothes are not just meant to cover us. They're an expression of us. They're an extension of us. They speak for us before we get to speak, right?
For sure.
As soon as you walk in, you will just probably see somebody and then you kind of get to know about them. But that is the most important bit.
No, I feel like that's super important. That's first world problem, but just generally that's super important because I feel like you're so right about the fact that you're wearing clothes, you're carrying your outfit.
Yeah, if you don't like how it's come, restyle it. I mean, there's really no rules as such. I think we make it very like
I feel like it's just generally Gen Z is all about breaking the norms, breaking the stereotypes, and I feel like people a lot of times they channel that through, or they use fashion as a form of expression to express
as it's meant to be. Yeah,
for sure, totally. And I feel like that's perhaps something that has sort of came about with Gen Z, and Gen Z is what's trying to like sort of bring that about for sure. And I feel like just generally as well, like even with all the fashion magazines out there, like they're using like, I feel like there's so many like trends going about where like I don't know if you've seen that one where you're writing like where you're challenging all the gender stereotypes as well. Like there'd be like a person who's like challenging the natural beauty norms, breaking the stereotypes. Like there's this trend on TikTok that's like this fat, ugly, like all of these like things that written in your face, and you're like, oh, like this is something that we need to step out from, breaking the taboos, breaking the stigma. So I feel like people do that with fashion most of the times, and that's definitely like very interesting for sure. So Manahyl, you said that Mia and Mila has had the honor of dressing a lot of notable Pakistani celebrities for different events, like be it red carpet events or just award shows in general. So I just wanted to ask, like, what's the process when you're thinking about such collaborations, but ensuring that the celebrity's individual style aligns with your vision for them?
So interestingly, I ran into somebody yesterday also, and they thought that I'm actively looking for people to collaborate with, which is far from the truth. It's not. I did not focus on that element, that side of it, because I do think that there is a level of dishonesty somewhere there when you see that brands are just dressing people all day, every day, everybody who, anybody. And Mia Mila is very particular about that. So none of our collaborations have been some kind of thing where we're like paying people to wear our clothes or asking celebrities to wear our clothes. Alhamdulillah, whoever has worn our outfits has come mostly as a client or even as somebody who wants to collab, but they have come with the express intention of wanting to wear Mia and Mila and then coming to us, and then us making it for them. And I do like to collaborate with the right people who work with with our aesthetic and want to wear something like that, because everybody, you're right, has their own sense of style. And that's why I like it when it's like pre-sifted kind of like, so they know that Mia Mila is their style and thus coming to us, and then we're happy to work with them. If I was to look out for collaborations, then yes, it would be harder because I will have to find the right kind of fit. And it's a lot of fun, by the way, because you do work and you do keep their sense of style in mind. You ask them what colors they like, because on the red carpet, you want them to feel, again, you want them to feel good. They're going to be photographed from every angle. They're going to be videoed from every angle, and not just for like half hour. Like it's a long, full day, of content. So you got to take their requirements into mind. You've got to take what they feel comfortable with. Some people want to be dressed modestly. Some people don't have those kind of restrictions. And whatever they do, you really got to keep them in mind, but also remind them that, like, you know, once you get all their requirements, that they're in good hands, and that we will be able to create something that is not only in line with their aesthetic, but something that's in line with ours and produces an elevated look at the end of the day.
Absolutely, I feel like you've summed it up pretty well, and I feel like elegance and glamour is what an individual, you know, personal style is what Mia and Mila is all about. So, you know, Manahyl, like, I'm sure like bridal fashion is something that's definitely a significant part of your brand. So perhaps like if a bride comes to you and tells you that she wants your like effort in styling 3 outfits for her, for perhaps like a mehendi event, like a barat look and like a reception look. So what's your vision, like what's your process for the whole journey?
So we have 2 brides this season.
Oh, okay.
Yes. One of them had a destination wedding and she was getting married in Mexico.
Right.
So we kind of just took what an international client. So we kind of, the process is we kind of have a online consultation with them where the team sits together with the tailors, we have them measure. But the first process is the intake. We kind of ask them about the event, right? That's the most important part. I base it off from there, which kind of is something that you guys do. I kind of find out like what kind of an event is it? Is it in the day? Is it in the night? What is the decor like? Like, what is the theme of the event? So it kind of takes me back to that question, which I think that you asked earlier about the event planners not being in collaboration, because technically we are collaborating without knowing it, because when the bride comes in, if they've done the decor first, then you kind of base the outfit and the feel of the outfit with the feel of the event. But if that hasn't been decided, then the event is kind of decided with what they're wearing. See, because she's like, okay, I'm having this kind of...
It's probably the couples, the host doing it themselves, like knowing the themes and then, you know, just like bringing it all together. And it'd be so nice to have someone like do it for...
but it's, you're right, it's quite... Yeah, it's tied up. It is tied up. Your outfit is very much tied up to your event.
So, you know, talking about wedding and, you know, talking about brides and all of those things, recently Manahyl Khan's wedding looks were like the talk of the town. Like, you know, from whatever she wore, like be the Chatapati Gharara that she wore, you know, everything that she wore to her wedding was just something. So I just want to ask, like, what's your thoughts about her looks, and just generally, how do you feel like her wedding looks are sort of reflecting the broader style and what's next to come for Pakistani fashion and wedding fashion?
Myra, by the way, looks stunning. Everybody is in agreement with that. She looks stunning. She's so loved also, you know, so anything, and even if she decided to wear something that had nothing on it, I think everybody would have loved it the same. Her photographs came out stunning. What that says about fashion, Myra's fashion sense is, in that sense, her wedding choices were very traditional, right? So if somebody is looking to have some kind of a traditional element to their wedding, that's the kind of looks, those are the kind of looks you should be going for. She did the glass bangles and she did the yellow jora for a Mayo, you know, all those kind of things that are part of our history and tradition, which sometimes people choose to skip. But if you were to have a traditional wedding, I think that's a good template to kind of go with.
The traditional red jora and, you know, like all of those. So it's like she definitely skipped that one.
Did she wear red, by the way?
She didn't wear red, but I'm just generally saying like
red
is like a time
white thing, and
for sure.
It's somebody. I'm very good friends with Shahbaz Shazi. He's a mentor, obviously he's a senior, but he took some iconic photographs of that jora as well, and Myra just looking backlit in the mount. It was just stunning. The whole thing. It's something that we'll all remember for a bit to come.
For sure. Like, I feel like it was more so the talk of the town than all the big Bollywood weddings happening as well. Like, it was definitely something like people all around the world looked up to and just generally like enjoyed the whole like thing. So, you know, I feel like Pakistani wedding industry is just generally very rich and diverse, right? Like richness and diversity is definitely like for sure that. But you know, like what trends do you personally, Manahyl, feel seeing coming into this industry in terms of fashion?
I don't know about that. I do feel that obviously every season has its own colors and stuff, but I do think that the trend perhaps is a more general and broader trend, which is to wear what, you know, it's less of that overly done looks now. I think people are going between a good balance between a minimalist and a maximalist outfit. I think it's a good medium, at least in Karachi. I mean, I have seen some Never mind. But at least in Karachi, people are in that good midway balance.
The minimalisticness and the extravagance.
Sometimes some occasions call for more, but I think the clean girl aesthetic is applying to the wedding girl fashion, season fashion.
I feel like even wedding season fashion, like sometimes less is more. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's what, like I feel like fashion is showcasing. It's all about these days for sure. So Manahyl, my next question to you would be that, you know, as an influencer, as well as a model, as well as a creative director for Mia and Mila, like you definitely wear a lot of creative hats. So how's that experience for you, and how, like, do you feel like being a model perhaps or being an influencer also helps you bring in or garner that energy into your, you know, work as a creative director at Mia and Mila?
Yeah, you know, all of it is linked. And sometimes I find myself directing on other people's shoots, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. This is kind of habitual now.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is that sense, and you do learn so much. And sometimes I will even help out on set if they don't know how to kind of, you know, it. But these fields are so interconnected that anything and everything I have ever learned up to now, honestly, has come in handy in some way or the other, you know. I mean, I did a retail job when I was in college. I did Zara for a couple of, I did it for a year, maybe more than that. And I eventually got into visual merchandising with them. And so, you know, the physical experience of working a Zara sale, it teaches you a lot. I mean, oh good God. I tell you, I have immense respect for people who work in retail. But that's where I learned how to do it. I learned how to hold the hangers in my hands, about 10, 20 on a, you know, like on each side, before I could ask my staff.
I feel like we're definitely going to be talking about if retail is on your mind and checklist for Mia and Mila. We're definitely going to be coming to that conversation for sure.
Yeah.
But just generally, you know, Manahyl, like I want to ask, like, you know, Mia and Mila has recently, as you said, garnered a lot of attention with international clients as well. Like recently you styled a bride in Mexico, like you said. So like, what's your process when you're collaborating with clients internationally?
So internationally, it's a little bit of a situation because of the time difference. But other than that, I mean, you get on a video call, we work through it. And brides anyway get special attention because it's such a special time in their lives, and you really want them to feel like they came to the right place. So it's supposed to be a fun experience for them, not stressful. If we're saying we're going to give you your outfit on your wedding, for your wedding at a certain date, you will have it on that date. If we cannot, I'm kind of more upfront with my clients, and my team is very upfront. We can't do it, you know. I'd rather say no than try and take on an order for someone's such an important, special time of their lives and not be able to deliver. For sure. And there's so many horror stories about that in the thing. So the process is to kind of make sure they have enough time. The process is to get them on video calls, and then just kind of be accessible for them and flexible as well. If they change their mind once or twice, it's okay. It's a big day for them, you know. But it's all, if you do it within time and you do it together, you end up creating some beautiful moments.
Yeah, I feel like that's really interesting. And you know, something interesting about our listeners is that they enjoy stories, and they enjoy stories that they can perhaps resonate with. So you mentioned something about horror stories. Could you tell us about any interesting stories that have sort of came about in your journey as a creative director here?
You know, by the way, no, I really haven't had any horror stories like that, because I'll tell you why. It's been simple. I could have had horror stories. It's not like, horror stories never found me. Horror stories did find me. But it's how you deal with it, right? A disgruntled customer doesn't require much from you other than a very well-deserved sorry if it's your fault, and simply refund. Finish. Khalas. There's no need for horror stories. I don't see why, if you're at fault, right, and you mess somebody's outfit, if you have. I'm not saying that that's usually, I'm just saying when it is very evidently the fault of the brand. Right? That's when you get the most kind of horror stories, because people then go unleashed and they have nowhere else to go other than talk about it on social media, because you did not treat them the way they were meant to be treated when they told you that the outfit is late and it's a bride or not even a bride, right? I think the process of handling a disgruntled or somebody you have done wrong with, if you get that process done, there are no horror stories, because you say, I'm so sorry, we fully take responsibility for that. No problem. Send it in, we will send you a new piece. You see, if you're going to be in the business, this is more important for me, other than the kind of studios that say, well, too late, it's done now, it's over. if you can just, it's not that, I mean, yes, I
ownership
understand.
of mistakes,
Yes,
customer
because
service.
I know that it costs us double, and in some cases, we just had somebody who didn't like something, and I said, you know what, just send it back.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, like, that's it.
I feel like customer service just wins the game in the
Absolutely.
longer run, for sure.
You don't have, you have the full right not to entertain somebody's business. Perhaps you can choose not to entertain them in the future. But if you can close a chapter and you can close it nicely and amicably and responsibly, I feel like you should just do it. It's really not worth having someone angered and then going all over the internet, as they should in that case. But I think your horror stories can easily be curbed.
Absolutely.
If you take
I feel
ownership.
like that definitely makes a lot of sense. And now, like, I feel like recently in today's like times, like I feel like people are also onboarding stylists as well as designers, right? So could you tell us about whether you've had an experience or just generally experiences working with stylists while creating pieces for, like, you know, a wedding perhaps, or any formal gatherings? How's the experience been?
I'm not very good at delegating the creative parts of my business. I'm very, very particular about it, especially because I did start off as a stylist, right? So it's like it's like when you can do something, and you're very particular about it, you really can't see somebody else doing it. That's not to say that I didn't recognize that that's a weakness of mine. I can't be everywhere. So I haven't really worked with any stylist for my own brand other than Marsha, who, you know, she was interning with us, and then we told her to work before she goes off to college for a bit. But I feel that I have not found someone here. Yes, correct. I really haven't. And yeah, it's not just, I did get Marsha for that bit, and she was lovely because it really felt that we were actually on the same page, which was really, it was nice. My sister was also in town then, so we were working. It's so difficult. So that basically, that's a bit of like a thing that we do, where when I get someone new, I kind of train them how to go to, and I prefer to go to the ones that are closer by, so I can just kind of, but I do help them kind of learn how to be purchasing from vendors. So I think that's where you had come in and seen. So I kind of train them on how to do all the buying, and I do take them to different stores for different kinds of experiences so that they learn. Because like I said, again, I can't be everywhere. So we teach them all that, although, you know, it's a very important part of it. So they need to learn, and I kind of take them with me and teach them the ropes before I can send them off to do the actual kind of runs.
But that really shows how personalized the experience of creating, you know, like creations is for you, and you know, you really are like super dedicated into it. So for sure, like, I feel like we've had like a super interesting conversation so far. I've personally really enjoyed. I hope the same for you as well. Thank you so much, Manahyl, for joining us. It has absolutely been my pleasure to be here with you at your studio, at your wonderful, exquisite studio with your best and most celebrated creations perhaps, and it's been lovely speaking with you. I hope you had a good time as
well. Absolutely, it was really fun.
I'm glad it was fun. So thank you so much, listeners, for tuning into the podcast. Until next time, stay tuned for more Beyond Events with Dawat USA. Bye.